Daddy, this tank is big.
Yes, that's true.
It can store a lot of water.
That's so true.
Wow, it has a working tortoise on it.
That's so true.
I can see SINTEX. Syntax.
That is so true, my daughter.
When it falls down, it will spoil.
That's not true.
But why?
Hey! Syntex was the first to introduce double-layer tanks in Ghana. Syntex again was the first to introduce white inner layers in Ghana. Syntex gives you the biggest warranty, 7 years. No matter your water needs, Syntex is the answer. Syntex tank. Are you strong? Are you tough?
Smile, Look lively, okay? Smile. Is the money too small? A bad stomach ruins your day. Don't let it. Take Gastron, your most effective antacid for the relief of symptoms of peptic ulcer, heartburn, gas pain, flatulence, and indigestion.
Hey guys, what are you waiting for? Let's go.
Mwah. Can you bring down the smile small? Gastron, effective relief from stomach discomfort. Manufactured and distributed by NS Chemist Limited. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Hello, my name is Abeku Agri Santana. If there's anything that makes my life so easy, it is my bank. I love hanging out with my boys at our usual fufu joint. But even without cash, we still dey chop better with EcoBank Mobile. No matter the time of day, my bank helps me stay in touch with my beautiful wife whenever she's away. And when my beautiful wife is in town, she never misses out on her favorite TV shows because I'm able to pay up all my TV subscriptions from the comfort of my mobile phone. Whenever she has to get groceries too, my bank makes it cashless and convenient. And the part my wife loves the most is when my bank makes it possible and easy for her to shop from any part of the world without moving.
Welcome to the smart world of EcoBank. Download EcoBank Mobile from Google Play Store or the App Store and discover the smart way to bank. EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank.
It's time to mark your calendar for our annual alumni homecoming and the grand celebration of UPSA's 58th anniversary as we gather under the theme, The Global Impact of Professionals in Business. Program lineup for the celebration are as follows. Friday, 27th October 2023, ignite the night with a bonfire and drama performances with old school dressing, variety of entertainment at 7 p.m. Saturday, 28th October, get your adrenaline pumping with alumni fun games. Current students will contribute to a noble cause with blood donation starting at 7 a.m. Tuesday, 31st October, mentorship sessions at 2 p.m. All activities will take place right on the UPSA campus where it all began. For more information, visit our website at www.upsaglobalalumni.com or contact the UPSA Alumni Office on 0243-288-579 or Room 19 Central Administration. UPSA, scholarship with professionalism.
And welcome back. Ghana is in a dilemma as it weighs the cost of up to 40% haircut for its Eurobond investors in a bid to restructure its maturing debts. Ghana is required to restructure some $10 billion of its external debt as part of the IMF conditionalities for the release of the remainder of its $3 billion bailout following the release of an initial $600 million earlier this year. But the situation could land Ghana into more trouble as any desperate decision could force investors to shut the country out of the international bond market. More on that shortly for you, though. First, listen to the Minister of Finance, Ken Ofori-Atta, speaking to Joy Business's George Wefe on plans for this restructuring.
The private creditors and the Eurobond. Some will say that it could be quite an interesting one because what terms are you offering them to ensure that they come on board? These are private bilaterals. Yes, of course, they would be able to understand Ghana's situation, but a private person, a private bank, really, he's looking at his shareholders, he's looking at his bottom line, he's looking at hitting his targets. It could be an interesting negotiation, some would say.
It will be, but it's not, a situation where very decent returns have been earned over a certain period, and the world has gone through this difficulty which has affected all creditors. How then do you restructure the portfolio such that it will be paid over time? So you need to give the country space for the growth and jobs issues that I mentioned, so there will be productivity to be able to sustain it, and also significantly to acknowledge that we haven't come to this without doing anything. Our domestic debt exchange program was difficult, sacrificial, and so we have burden shared. It's not like we are coming and telling you, well, you take a haircut, we haven't done anything. Considerable restructuring in Ghana, where we moved interest rates from maybe an average of 19.2 to 9%. Now that's significant. And so that's all on the table. We have done our part with regards to burden sharing. We have done our part with regards to the economic indicators as to where we go. We've done it in the fastest possible time.
Well, joining me in studio now is Isaac Kufeje with our research desk for more on this. We also do have some more persons who will be joining the conversation. But Isaac, thank you for spending some time with us. The Finance Minister confirming to us that that's the way to go. But what are the implications of this restructuring if we were to go with this approach?
Well, I think it would be fair enough to start with the proposal on the table and what's in that table. Proposal for the investors. Already the Finance Minister did a presentation somewhere April this year to the investor community, and he told them the reason why Ghana is having this challenge and the steps that Ghana is taking to make sure that we come back to the normal trajectory, and the fact that they should support us in this whole restructuring process and debt relief. So we are certainly looking for debt relief, sort of forgive me a part of how much I owe you. That is what we are looking for. So the proposal on the table is that we are requesting for haircuts not just on interest, but also on principal. Significantly, we are looking for a haircut between 30 to 40%. This is because of the target we have and the BOP financing gap that we are supposed to fill as a result of this restructuring and MOUs that we sign with our, external or international creditors. We are also looking for haircuts on interest. We are saying this haircut should not be more than 5%. And then also we are looking at bringing or reducing some of the maturity. So we are looking at a maximum maturity period of 20 years. So mind you, the last time we went to the market to borrow, we borrowed and some of the bonds were even up to 30 years tenure. So we are bringing the maturity period closer for the investors. So we are telling them that give us a haircut on principal, give us haircuts on interest, but we'll make sure you get your money probably within a very short period of time than we even anticipated. So that's currently the proposal on the table.
What are the likely implications? Go with us.
Well, so as for the implications, we've already, experienced the first one, which is, and now it's not that Ghana cannot go to the Eurobond market to borrow. We can go, but when you default or when you're at high risks of default, then it simply tells you that your coupon rate is going to be raised. You are high risk, so those who will be willing to lend to you will also lend to you at a high interest rate. Another risk is that, when we're experiencing all of these economic challenges and our yield curve looking at so many things, some of the original holders of our bonds decided to dump them. So when someone dumps your bond, you do not know whose hands the new bond will be. And so it makes the whole restructuring process very, very complicated for government. We are hoping that it doesn't end up in one of those vulture bondholders who will probably demand more, and it's so difficult, reaching agreements with them. And when you're in debt negotiations or talks with some of these creditors, what they want is their money, because the original holder, some say they've already benefited from a high interest, but they have dumped those bonds. They are gone. Probably you'll be looking at new, holders of your debt. Now, on the screen right now is the external debt portfolio of Ghana. And that will help our viewers to appreciate the problem that we are talking about and the exercise Ghana wants to do. So the total external debt is $30 billion, dollars. This was as of April when the finance minister gave us that update in Washington. And he told us that if you look at this $30 billion debt that we owe our external creditors, not all of them is, available or eligible for restructuring. Mind you, some of the multilateral debt that we owe have been excluded, about 9 billion of them. So the bonds or the debt that's eligible for restructuring at this moment is 20 billion. Right. And of this 20 billion, we are looking ahead to restructure or rework about 10.5 billion, which will go ahead to give us that fiscal breathing space that we need in our, fiscal breathing space that we need between 2023 and 2026. But if you also look at the focus area on the commercial component, which is the Eurobonds, we are looking at debt that is the Eurobond debt that's around 48% of your total debt stock. So the Eurobond creditors and the commercial creditors, we are looking at a debt portfolio of close to $14.4 billion. That's about 48% of your external debt, and also 73% of the restructuring parameter, which is the $20 billion that we are looking for. So Ghana is in a very difficult situation, but if you listen to the finance minister, there seems to be hope that we've actually made, some advancements with our talks with the bilateral guys, where China is now willing to play ball. There's France in the picture. Almost all the countries belonging to the Paris Club are deciding to give us that relief that we need. And I don't know how we are doing this restructuring process, whether it will be a one-off thing, the MOU will be a blanket one for the entire 3 years. Other than that, it means that anytime that Ghana passes a certain review, we have to engage our creditors to make sure that we get the assurances and actual restructuring. I have always been saying that you need to go through all the stages to get the disbursement. You cannot get the entire $3 billion bailout package just by using assurances from your creditors. You need to move from the assurance stage to actual restructuring. Agree, sign MOUs. Let us see the magnitude of haircuts that these guys will be giving you. And Blessed, you know already that the problem that we are facing, we need close to $15.5 billion to solve this problem. Right. IMF and the World Bank are giving us a total of close to $6 billion. The rest is supposed to come from us. How are you going to generate that? We are supposed to do this through debt restructuring.
And now we're being told that this decision alone has the possibility of shutting us out of the Eurobond market.
Exactly. We are already out. And the risk is that when you perform a debt restructuring or rework with this huge asking, that the creditors will give you between 30 to 40% haircut. And it tells you that it will take a long time probably before you even return to the market. In 2007, when we made our debut, we borrowed quite a lot in 2007 and then from then onwards. But the 2015 scenario was a bit different. When we opted for our 16th IMF program, there was no restructuring. And so although we lost access, it took us just 6 months. And we were back to the capital market to borrow again. We were able to borrow more than 1 billion in 2015. But this time around, the fact that our debt levels are unsustainable and we have to do a debt restructuring tells you that the dynamics have changed. And the fact that you are doing restructuring has exposed you to reducing your ability of returning to the capital markets. Remember that some of these ratings agencies will come at you again. Already, some of our bonds are in restricted default and all of those things. And we don't really look good. We need to do more to actually have that full access to the international capital markets again, where we get usually between $1 to $3 billion every year to show up our budget.
Okay, Isaac, just stay on tight. Richard Chamberlain is a member of the Finance Committee, also MP for BI, is joining the conversation now. Thank you, sir, for spending some time with us. Your impression about government's approach towards dealing with this external debt restructuring and how that possibly the approach we're taking now could shut us out of the Eurobond market. What are your main concerns about this?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear, sir. I was just asking your initial impression about, government's approach towards this.
Where we are now, we don't have any option than to go and beg for this debt restructuring that we're talking about. And government is looking at between 30 to 40% haircuts. So we need to support government to do that because there's no any other option than to go and beg for debt forgiveness. I just returned from Marrakesh, attended the IMF World Bank spring meeting. We did some sideline meetings and we picked some intelligence that it's going to be tough for us, but we need to push for it, especially dealing with this Chinese government. They are the major creditors that we are looking at. I know many bondholders, if you put all together, they were going to gain some 44% yield, and it's going to reduce to 38%. So, ab initio, they are going to lose about 6% of their yield. And the question is, are we going to sustain all these things? Domestically, what is the plan? What is our inflow? Are we going to embark on revenue generation so that we can give indicative that the 20-year period that we're talking about, would Ghana be in the better position to pay back those debts? These are some of the conversations we need to have because we are reducing some bonds from 30-year period to 20-year period. What are the inflows which will enable you to pay the principal and the interest? Because the haircut we're talking about is not only on the principal, it's on the interest and the principal. So we are in a very tough corner, but we need to push for it because as it stands now, there's nothing we can do. We need to go and beg them so that we can also do other things because our debt is not sustainable. Right now, we're looking at around 600 billion Ghana cedis. So how do we pay this interest on the coupon rate and the rest? So it's very tough time for Ghana, but what do? We need to go in for it.
What memo did you issue as a committee to the Minister for Finance on this approach of the external debt restructuring? Because certainly a portion of it might need parliamentary consideration or engagement.
Yes, Parliament will resume 31st of this month, and the budget will also be presented in November, middle of November, thereabouts. So the Finance Committee is expecting the Finance Minister to have some engagement because many of the facilities came to Parliament. We gave the approval. So if the tenor is going to change, meaning the terms of the facility is going to change, we gave approval on certain assumptions. So certainly the Minister must come back to the Finance Committee so that we look at the new terms that they are going to engage with the creditors, so that if we think it's going to help the country sustain the kind of trajectory the finance minister wants to walk all of us through, then we need to give a different approval so that the minister can go ahead and engage the creditors. Because the investors are also watching. If there's a backing from Parliament, well, political parties can change. Finance minister may go the next month or the next day, but Ghana is still Ghana. So they may need parliamentary approval to give them some comfort that come what may, they will get their investment. So at least if they get the parliamentary approval, it's going to also give the creditors some comfort so that they can also deal with the country, not dealing with an individual as a finance minister.
And what's exciting is that you are in Marrakesh yourself, a number of engagements coming up where, of course, I was just reading a couple of days ago, Zambia also making some suggestions to the Republic of Ghana. They seem to suggest that we need some capping on the level of borrowing that we do. Probably they feel that should be done through legislation. Zambia is advising the Republic of Ghana in that regard, probably because of their experience. Is that something you'd want to look at on the Finance Committee?
Yeah, it's a long overdue, my brother, because you can't borrow for borrowing's sake. Do you understand? When you are taking a facility or adding on loans, you look at your capacity to repay the loans.
Hello, sir.
And borrow. By the end of the day, you ask yourself, is this sustainable? What is the cash flow that will enable me to pay this facility, either in 5 or 10-year period? So if you are accumulating debt, make sure that there will be productivity on the other hand, so that you can expand your GDP, there will be growth, you create employment, so that people will generate more revenue for you to pay the debt. But you can't just be borrowing, looking at one side, without necessarily looking at the other side, which is productivity, the cash flow, which will help you to pay back the loan. So you ask yourself, you've increased your debt portfolio from 120 billion to some 600 billion. Ask yourself, how are you going to pay back the facility? But previously, we can talk about the Trouble Gas project, the T3, which is generating revenue for us to pay some of the loans that we collected. So if you look at even the passenger throughput at the T3, any loan that you took for the T3 can pay for itself. If you look at the Trouble Gas processing plants, any loan that we took, the CDB loan that we took for that project, a Trouble Gas project can pay for that facility. But let's ask ourselves, all these loans, what are the projects that we've undertaken with this facility which can pay for itself? So there must be a capping, so that when the red line is being crossed, you get to know that you are getting to the danger zone. You can't just be...
Looks like we've lost the Honourable Member of Parliament there. Apologies for the network challenges. But this afternoon as well, we're focusing on the Volta flooding, because there's danger ahead for thousands of residents in parts of the Volta region affected by the flooding caused by the spillage of the Akosombo Dam. Some of the displaced persons resort to the polluted water for being as being the source of the water that they would want to drink. And we know that the Vice President has been visiting the area. He's been addressing a gathering there. Let's listen.
Yo, nyapa duklola balentito ebi enyik bane tokbo kata pri mamao otutu na milo.
I am here because of what has happened to all of us in these communities over the 8 districts for 3 regions, Greater Accra, Eastern and Volta regions. That has resulted from the spillage of the Akosombo Dam that has flooded our communities across these 3 districts.
Yo, badaku tupolala na nanam yanyabe yele mi dome egbie otutu ye kokule jogbovo jole mi jisikanye Akosombo Dam ye na odaseleshi mu vachomi ye echi ye vacho nutuma fun region amaton Eastern Greater Accra Volta ye would Miapanutuma no forgede yeta ye fadbie be ava fakuni plimi ne yakbo myohen ye habo.
We are facing a major disaster, a major tragedy. This, I am told, is the biggest flooding disaster we have seen since 1963. So it's been 60 years since the last such disaster took place. And it has affected so many livelihoods, so many people, so much property, so many farms, so many fishing implements and so on. So that it has devastated our livelihoods around this area. And when I look at the community in Sokoe when I was coming in, so many places are flooded, so many houses. And it is a very sad event. And as I am here with you, let me really express my sympathies. Babanami.
Madaku duklola be yesevanto be jopavoye vatumile mionu tume. Yenya kotebe echi ododo yenye nyanya tokeki ake tumikpo le mionu tume. Afoku ya ejo zigbanto efebla tenkie. Kafano aga joalie aho mionofo yagbeledefo amofo kasinonu ochi echime. Enye nuye defune mi abejidudu nene. Se ye va egbie be ava fakuni plimi ni adon ble ni akpale nono la nola akbe.
The biggest concern for government is to make sure all the displaced peoples and the affected communities are given the support that they need to get over this particular phase, because we first have to provide relief, provide support, and then look at longer term, how we look at housing, look at properties, look at agriculture. And because of that, we have set up 20 holding centers across the 8 districts which are affected, so that people are sent there and provided relief items for now, so that we can look at how to best support going forward. The government has formed an interministerial committee specifically dedicated to what has happened and how to deal with it. The Ministry of Agriculture has been charged with looking at how to support farmers and fishermen when this phase is over, because we still have rising water levels, and we have to deal with this phase of the temporary relief before we move into the more permanent solutions.
Yo, madaku togbeo mamao duklola be dibia na yanyami be jidudu wota dojini kote planet ogbovo enye be yo tibi akpobo be amedesia de ledede le eyiye me jogbovo ejo le mieji anu emi awo sika miapanu dudu be anyimlofo wata kpobo nemi Palang ha wodo committee alanyi sikala kpo bobe amedesia de ye na chicho afa wala kulangu nye novi o na wakblemo echi ha chowa wakpo bobe abledefa yo na chicho do pe kpo abledenya oji wado dodo atuma akpo bobe wotata ukpo sika eji ajete tefa ndesia da atafo akpe.
In putting together the support for the various communities, we will take into account all the needs that have been expressed. Today expressed a lot of needs for the community, and we will take all of that into account as the community, as the government prepares the support packages to the community. So thank you very much for all of the requests that were put together. It will help us to fashion out the solutions.
Yo, madaku diplola opalanti tola jiji ben jidudu la lankule bebio kata pelu hehio na yatogbega atasi be duko no akpele on no awone yo ton godo ye yo le klalo be ya woto pli efi hao ya pele eduko mu le jobofo ejo le meji na ndesi ade no ayi jinwen.
Well, as I said earlier, this is the biggest flooding disaster since 1963. What is so remarkable, and we thank God Almighty, is that throughout this particular disaster, we have not lost a life. So we thank God for that, because in many, many places, when you have this scale of disaster, when even story buildings are submerged underwater, you have loss of life. But I would like to thank NADMO, the Army, the Navy, Volta River Authority for being very proactive, because even though we don't wish for a disaster, we have to prepare for it. And last year, in May, they held simulation exercises to look at what to do in case there is a disaster. Involve the Navy, the Army, the NADMO, and all of them. They worked well together. So when we had this disaster, they already had a plan as to where to take people, how quickly to evacuate people, and all of that. The boats and all of that were in place. And this is why we did not suffer any loss of life. And so I want to thank NADMO, VRE.
Well, Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia in the Volta region, they're addressing victims of the flooding. As we understand, the VRA says it will continue the spillage, but calls have emerged for Parliament to be recalled as, there's pressure ongoing for deliberations on an emergency response to the victims. Let's take a statement coming through from the Kwame Nkrumah Center for Ideology and Good Leadership, Governance and Leadership, actually, as we see SEPs here on the screens, indicating that with the aftermath of the Ekosombo Dam spillage and the catastrophic challenges confronting many communities, families, people, especially women and children, there is the need for some urgent and pragmatic intervention to manage this situation. And part of it, the group believes, is the need for Parliament to be reconvened. Let's speak to the Executive Director for the Centre, who is joining us in studio now. Grateful for your time, sir, here on the Pulse. And of course, Kojo Afari-Yeboah is the Executive Director for the Centre. Thank you, and thank you for joining us. You've been monitoring this situation, as the Vice President was indicating. We've not seen this in the last 60 years or plus. You're saying that Parliament would have to be recalled for this. Why so, and why not wait at least till the end of the month when the House properly resumes?
All right. Thank you very much, my brother. I think we will need to put the issues in proper perspective. The issue about dam spillage and flooding is not only what we are witnessing right now.
Right.
We know year in, year out, the Bagri Dam in Burkina Faso is often released, and a lot of communities suffer from the spillage of this water, and then farmlands, communities, their household, usually their livelihoods. But we don't seem to be finding solutions to it. It comes, we manage it somehow, it goes, the next year it recurs again. Here we find it not Bagri Dam being released to be able to protect the land when there are excesses of water. But this is our own Ekosombo Dam. The VRA knows from history that when there is excesses of water, it causes a lot of damage. This particular incident, it seems, usually most of the reports seem to be coming from the Volta region, but it's actually affecting about 3 regions. The eastern region, the Volta region, of course, and then part of Greater Accra region from the Shah Osudoku area heading towards the Adan area. So the situation is more than what we seem to take it to be. We believe that in such an enormous catastrophic situation as we have, we need to look at it in a more holistic terms. You hear the Vice President office saying the larger plan, the larger plan. What is the larger plan? Okay, so if there was a plan in place in the first place, I don't think we will get to where we are right now. He also mentions that there are 3 communities from 3 different districts that they have some shelter being provided for them. We are saying that there are 7 districts which have been affected by this disaster. So we need to be very truthful about it in the first place, and also make sure that we put the proper intervention. Now, we also look at this, that it has to take a very long-term intervention, not the water just filling away and then providing some fuel release for them. They are more than, people are reporting 4,000, 8,000, 12,000. No, there are over 24,000 people who have been affected by this situation. Right. And as I mentioned, it's more than 3 regions, more than 7 districts. So it means that it's bigger than what we have anticipated. Yeah. It is important right now that we have a more holistic address to this. That's why we believe that if Parliament is recalled, we should take this as a state of emergency.
In fact, I'm just looking at the facility and it reminds me.
With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, banking with Capital One is the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Kind of like choosing Derek Jeter as the pinch hitter for your baseball team.
Jeter, you're in. We need a home run.
I'll give it a try. I've swung a bat once or twice.
That's out of here. Yep, even easier than that. With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, is it even a decision? That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank for details. Capital One NA, member FDIC.